So going to an open air market has to be one of my favorite things to do when I travel, because a farmer's market allows you to get to know the culture of a new place and get to know their gastronomic traditions and their local and artisanal products, and get to taste new dishes and also support the local farmers or vendors if you buy something from them. So in this video, I want to share with you how I tackle a farmer's market so that next time you travel, or even if you're at home, you get the most out of them. Hey, I'm Chef Sabrina. Welcome to my channel where I give you lots of cooking and baking techniques and tips about how to eat and cook deliciously every time. So if you're into that, please consider subscribing. One of the first things that we learn when we go to a farmer's market is what's in season, because it's on repeat. If you see a specific product, a vegetable or a fruit that's on repeat, kiosk after kiosk after kiosk, you know that that's in season because they're producing so much of it. There's so much supply of it, and it's usually cheaper because of that. So it's the best way to buy them, not only because they are less expensive, but because they're at the peak of flavor. So that's when we want to get them and maybe freeze some of them or cook a lot and then freeze it, and making conserves, or just enjoy it as much as we can, because that's when we really enjoy the best representation of that specific vegetable or fruit or whatever it is. It can even be a meat or a specific type of animal or protein that it's only in season, or it can only be hunted at a specific time of the year. So you have to check out what's on repeat on the farmer's market, and you'll see that that's what you need to get for sure. And a great lesson that farmers markets gives to us is to understand what the locals are doing. And so that's how you start learning about the culture. You get to see what the old ladies are buying to cook at home. It's very interesting, because you start imagining, oh my God, what is it that they're going to be cooking with this, and why is it that they're all getting this product? Or if you see that a lot of people are getting the same vegetable, for example, that means that there is a traditional dish going on that uses a lot of it, or maybe it's just a staple in their culture, like potatoes or cabbage. Like right here in Germany, in Munich, cabbage and potatoes are just everywhere, especially now in this season, and it is very important in their culture and in their everyday meals. One of the other things that we get to learn is that if they have kiosks or stands with already prepared foods, we are probably seeing something that it's traditional for them. And most likely they are cooking that with the products that are in season. And so you get to taste things that you probably wouldn't otherwise, because you're traveling and you're in a new place, or even if you're in your own city, the things that they are cooking is most likely made with what they have most of. And if it is a new city for you, then you get to learn the traditional dishes and just look around. Look at where people are eating. And locals usually go to these markets or to these kiosks to get a snack or to get a quick lunch, because it's usually cheaper, it's easy to grab and go. So just make sure that you're looking at what the locals are doing. And here I have some neighbors that are just like bombing my video. One of the things that I always do when I travel is do a little research before I get to the place, or do a little research before I get to the market, because I want to know what the traditional dishes are from that area, and that will already give me an idea of what I get to see. And especially if it's a language that I don't speak, like in this case, it's always helpful to I'm sorry, I'm doing a video. I had to research a little bit about the traditional dishes, and so when I got to the farmer's market for the first time and I started seeing the kiosks with words that I didn't understand, it reminded me, oh, this is what it is. Or if it doesn't, just take a picture. Take pictures at the farmer's markets, and then go home or your hotel and just type in the word and see what it was. And then maybe if you can come back, then you already know what it is. Or if you're more adventurous like me, you just go and buy it. Buy it and taste it, because that's the best thing that you can do. When you travel, you get to know traditional dishes, traditional foods, and usually in farmers markets, you get really good representations of each dish. So just buy it and taste it. Be a little adventurous. I mean, what's gonna happen? Give you a stomachache? Well, I've been through that road before, but you know what? It's worth it, because it is so much fun to get to know the culture of a place through their dishes and through their gastronomic traditions. So don't be afraid. Just taste as much as you can when you go to a market, because it's just going to be really good representations of their dishes. Another thing is that if you are wondering how to cook something, or if you see a vegetable or a fruit that you don't know, then try to ask. See if they speak English or if they speak your language. And if not, again, take a picture, go to your hotel and Google it and see what comes out. And then if they do speak a language that you speak, try to ask the farmer, try to ask the vendor, how is it that they prepare it? And most likely they're gonna give you a recipe or a way of cooking it that's traditional from their place. They're not gonna tell you, you know, this is how they do it in the other side of the world. No, they're gonna tell you how they cook it at home, and if they like it and if they don't like it. So if it's possible and if the language allows it, try to talk to the locals or try to talk to the vendors, and you'll get to know a new thing that maybe you had no idea about, or maybe just simply a new way of preparing something that you already know. And that is actually very common. Maybe you already know the product, but you're learning new ways of cooking it, new ways of eating it, or you learn new combinations. You learn that maybe how you were used to eating something, to them is completely different, and they combine it with different herbs or spices. So if it's possible and if the language allows it, try to talk to the locals or try to talk to, I love talking to old ladies because they have been cooking for years and years and years. Especially when I go to Italy, it's the best because the nonna, they know everything. They have had to cook for, you know, like 50 people every day. So they know how to cook. And they know how to cook what's traditional in their city and with those ingredients. So if you can, just talk to the old ladies because they are the best chefs usually. Now, another thing that I always do is I always buy something. It's my R&D budget, my research and development, because it's so important for me to learn about new things every time I travel. It just makes me a better chef. And if I wasn't a chef, I would still do the same thing because I love to eat. So it would just make me a better eater, right? So for example, cheese. If you've seen my videos, you know I love cheese. And so I always buy cheese. And it's something that I can bring back to the US. It is legal. So I always buy cheese to either taste at the hotel or just take back with me. And one thing that I always do is that I'll never buy a cheese that it's not local. Because, you know, in these markets, especially if you're in Europe, they have cheeses from a lot of places in Europe, and Europe is known for their cheeses, so the variety is just endless. But I always try to buy local cheeses, so I learn also about their culture in a different way. And I always try to ask, what kind of milk is it? Is it cow's milk or is it sheep's milk? So what I do is that either I take a picture of the cheeses if I can, if it's available to me, but for sure, I always ask for them to write the name of the cheese on the piece of paper that they're wrapping the cheese in. And that way I don't forget it. Then I can go back to the hotel or home and just remind myself what that cheese was called, just go online and research a little bit more about it. And it's just so much fun to do a cheese tasting. Even if you're just with one other person at your hotel, do like a little picnic at the hotel room. I'm like an expert at that. Okay, if you want to travel with me, you'll travel with cheese. That's a guarantee. And you're gonna be tasting cheese and yogurts and hams and a bunch of stuff at the hotel. This market also has a lot of different honeys and a lot of mustards and chutneys and marmalades, and those are all really nice things also to take back home, because usually what is in a jar you can't take probably anywhere in the world. Like the customs are not going to prevent you from getting it back into your country because it's safe. So a farmer's market also allows you to buy the best souvenirs. Like, don't go to a souvenir shop, or at least if you're gonna give me a souvenir, just get me something from a market that you can bring home. It's a really nice touch, and it says that you were really thinking about them and not just buying another fridge magnet, you know? Also, getting artisanal handmade gifts or handmade souvenirs or handmade things for home. A lot of things that you see that are handmade represent the season that they're in, and you get to help all these artisans that, you know, it's really hard to do their jobs and it takes a lot of time, and, you know, buying something from them them and then gifting it to your loved ones is also a really nice thing, because you're doing a double good deed. You're helping the local, and you're also really giving a person back home something that it's very special and that it was handmade. Now, another tip that I have to give you is that whenever you research where you're gonna go, the market that you're gonna go, try to see their opening hours and also the days of the week that they're open, because a lot of markets in big cities, maybe they're open every day, or maybe they're open 6 days a week. But if it's a smaller market, they're probably there just one day of the week, and they go from place to place around the city on a different day of the week. So don't think that because you suddenly found a market as you were walking by that a specific day on a Tuesday, it's going to be there on Wednesday. That's usually not how it is, unless it's a big market and it's a stand market that it's always there. So make sure that you research their opening hours and the days of the week. Now, about opening hours, just make sure that you either go very early when they're opening, or you go maybe like 2 or 3 hours before they close. Like, don't go during the rush hour, because you're not really going to be able to enjoy the market if it's the first time that you go. If you have, availability and you have time to go several times, then, whatever, just go whenever you want. But if you know that you can only go a specific day, just make sure that you don't go when most people are going to be there, because you're not going to be able to talk to the locals. You're not going to be able to really take pictures or make videos. And so it's just better that if you only have one day to go, that you go on a time where it's not rush hour for them. Another thing that I love to do when I go to a farmer's market is to taste baked goods, because I love to bake. It's one of my favorite things to do. So I always try to learn what their traditional desserts are, and it talks a lot about the culture. Believe it or not, yes, obviously dishes are incredibly important, but also their baked goods or their pastries talk a lot about even traditions, culture, and history of a place. History and culture is really passed along from generation through generation through baked goods and through pastries. So it's really interesting if you're into history of a specific place. See what ingredients they use. Are they using nuts? Are they using poppy seeds like they do in Prague, or like in the Czech Republic, they use a lot of poppy seeds. They have a lot of Russian influence, or in the south of Italy, they have influences from the Arab countries. Even if you go to New York, you see that a lot of things have influences from their Jewish traditions, or even Russian traditions, or Italian traditions. So it's just wonderful to see how baked goods are a carrier of culture and of knowledge. So eat their desserts, eat their breads, their baked goods, their pastries, and do a little research on the name and how they're made, because most likely they'll be able to translate or tell you a little bit of history about that place. And talking about breads, I'm just gonna finish my video as I eat my pretzel, my favorite snack in the world. I'm in like heaven in this city because there are pretzels everywhere. So let me know what your favorite snack is, what your favorite thing to do at a farmer's market is. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you learned something, whether it is at home or next time you travel. I hope you take some of these tips with you, and that you get to learn and get to know a new place through a farmer's market and through their culture and through their dishes. Getting to know a culture through their food, it just makes us a better person and a better eater for sure, or a better foodie, however you want to call it.